I've had a few people ask me how to learn all the notes on the fretboard, and there's a way I've taught this that seems to work for people, so I wanted to share it here. It's, we're always working on a C major scale because there's no sharps and flats, and, it has clean application of what we're going to talk about here. So I'm going to start with I move real quick through the basics of the major scale into applying that to all the strings. So C major scale is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So we number each one of these notes in the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 octave. Now, at times, if you'll find the second referred to as the 9. So you just add 7 because there's 7 notes in the scale. Add 7 to any number in the scale, and that'll tell you how it's referred to as an extension. So we have the 2. Sometimes the 3 has been referred to as the 10 lately, I've heard. 4 is 11, right? 5 is 5. 6 is 13. And 7 is 7. So that's just a bonus teaching there for you. I want to get back to the point here of learning the notes on all the strings. So there's a whole step between C and D. So a half step is just 1 fret, and a whole step is 2 frets. So it's important to understand, memorize that between C and D, there is a whole step. Between D and E, there is a whole step. There's a half step in between E and F. This is in the major scale. Right? And there's a whole step between F and G, a whole step between G and A whole step between A and B, and a half step between B and C. So everything's a whole step except for between the 7th and the 1st, and the 3rd and the 4th. Okay, so you need to make sure you get that, understand that concept of that there's a half step between the 7 and the 1, or the B and the C, and a half step between the 3 and the 4, or the E and the F. And then to learn the strings on each guitar, or the notes on each string, I should say, is easy. You just start with the open note of the string. So if you don't know all those, it's E, A, D, D, G, B, E. So if I'm starting on my low E, the first note, the next note in the scale, E, F, right? So I'm playing C major, but I'm starting on the E, which is the 3rd. So it's a half step between the E and the F, or the 3rd and the 4th. Now it's a whole step between the 4th and the 5th. A whole step between the 5th and the 6th. Whole step between the 7th and the 6th and the 7th. And a half step between the 7th and the 8th. So I know that those notes are E, F, G, A, B, C. Right? D, E. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. And you do that on each string. So you're always playing C major, but you're starting on the note in the scale of the open string. So we're starting on A. So if we go back to our C major scale, it's C, D, E, F, G, A. So we're starting on the 6th note of the C major scale. And then between 6 and 7 is a whole step. So here's B. Half step between 7 and the root is a half step. So C. Whole step between the 1 and the 2. whole step between the 2 and the 3, half step between the 4 and the 5. You can do the numbers and the names of the notes. And now you've got a decoder for each of the strings and naming all the notes in the C major scale. So you should be able to say, oh, I see C here, 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 here. Right? So you can quiz yourself on those over time. And as you're doing this, you make sure you learn all the positions of the C major scale. And play it C to C. That's important. Don't run past it. I mean, you can, but end on the C so you're hearing that C. Whoops. Right, and then learn them going every which way. And anchor that over a C major chord so you can see the scale on top of the chord. And then over this C major. And you should be able to see C. Octaves are another way to keep track of or learn the fretboard. But that's the concept. So I hope that helps.